Okay, so this do-it-yourself one is going to be how to hook up your new floodlight that I recommend for refugiums. You can use it for tanks. Recently our local club found an incredible deal on these lights over at Costco for less than $10 a piece. It is a 65 watt outdoor floodlight, and that is actual 65 watts of compact fluorescent, which is the equivalency, according to them, a 500 watt light output. So it is not like a 13 watt bulb with a 65 watt equivalency. It is actually a 65 watt bulb. So the tools that we're going to be using today for this are a pair of wire strippers, 2 wire nuts, a screwdriver, a pair of channel locks or similar equivalent, and an old computer power cord. So let's get started. First thing we're going to do is take this old computer power cord here and take our strippers, and we're just going to chop off the ends just like that. Now, if you're really talented, you can use a pair of strippers for this, but I prefer to use a utility knife, which actually I just added to my arsenal of tools that we're going to be using. So what we're going to do is score this ever so carefully, making sure that we don't actually score the wire inside. Remove our sheath like that. Your cord may or may not have this extra ground right here. It's not really pertinent for this. And since these lights are made completely of plastic, we can actually even get rid of this ground wire right here. So we'll go ahead and cut that off. So that leaves us with our hot black and our neutral white. Normally I wouldn't recommend cutting grounds off, but because this light fixture is completely plastic, there would be nothing to ground it to anyway. So with that out of the way, we'll set this aside now, and we will bring out our light. So your light should look something like this when you get it. The cover comes off. Okay. Now, as you'll notice, we have our compact fluorescent bulb, but it has a larger base than most light bulbs. And the reason for that is they use a mogul base, much like you do for your metal halides, single-ended metal halides, is because this light does not have a ballast in the actual light itself, much like a typical compact fluorescent does. The ballast is actually in the fixture itself. So they don't want you to be able to screw in a regular compact fluorescent light that already has a ballast inside. So that's why they've done that. So, that aside, we're going to set that over there. Take our screwdriver, and on these lights, you'll notice this little photocell right here. This makes it so the light only comes on when it's dark. We need to fix that. We want this light to come on when we plug it in, regardless of what the light conditions are. We're going to remove these screws so we can get to the ballast and the little light sensor, which there should only be 2 screws here. Should be fairly straightforward. This should then come apart, I hope. Let's see here. Actually, I haven't taken this fixture apart before, so you actually get to see me do it firsthand. So we're going to go ahead and take out the reflector, set that aside. Now the entire ballast comes out like this. Okay, so here's all of our parts. Here's that photocell I was talking about earlier. And what we're going to do to make this photocell override is we're going to go ahead and cut it right off, just like that. So now what we're going to do is take those 2 wires that we talked about earlier for the photocell. We're going to grab them, rock it back and forth until they pop off, like this. Okay. So now there's no photocell and nowhere connected anymore to each other. So we're not going to wire nut those or anything. We're just going to break them off and basically eliminate the photocell completely. Like I said, because this was unrehearsed, this is actually another take because I originally wire nutted them together as they are in some systems, and it didn't work. So this one's actually hooked up opposite. So instead of wire nutting them together, we just need to remove the component completely. So instead of cutting this off, you could actually just break the wires off right at the circuit board and still have the wires attached to your photocell, remove it, and reassemble. So, with that, we're going to continue on. Okay, so now we're good to go. What we're going to do now is remove this bolt from the back here. We don't need this little, get that flushed out of the way there. We don't need this thing right here. We're not going to use it. So, we will use these pliers, which if you'd like to go get the correct size socket, that's fine. Remove this little knuckle here. The wire should pull through like that, so we're left with these two parts. These can now go in the trash like that, and now we're left with this. So what we're going to do is I'm going to actually pull those through the light fixture like this, and take our cord and push it through where the other wire used to come out. So, which is actually a pretty tight fit. Let's see if we can get that in there. So if it's too tight of a fit for you, you might have to take a small Dremel to it or something. But basically, we'll end up with that. So our cord comes in the back, like so. Our wires are up here in the front. Okay? So now what we're going to do is go ahead and strip these wires, which these are normal wires that can be stripped. We'll strip those back, like this. And then we'll take our ballast wires, right here. We'll cut these back a little bit shorter. We don't need them that length. Go ahead and strip these wires, like so. And then go ahead and wire nut the white to the white and the black to the black. Okay. So we'll twist those wires together, put a wire nut on them like so, and do a similar process for the blacks, like this. Twist them together, put a wire nut on them like so, making sure that the wire nut's tight. So it should look something like this. Okay, now all we have to do is reassemble it. So basically we're going to take our ballast here, face, stick that back in, like so. Go ahead and put our reflectors back in, like this. Make sure it snaps in securely. Then what we'll do, once you've got it snapped in securely, go ahead and put the screws back in. Like this. Now we can go ahead and put our bulb back in. Okay, so now with our light mostly reassembled, we're going to go ahead and test it before we put the plastic cover back on using the screws that were provided. So we're going to go ahead and plug this in, and our light should fire brilliantly. That's exactly what we wanted to see. Basically, now we're going to go ahead, screw the cover on. Also, there are wire nuts, I just noticed, included in the light. So you don't have to use the wire nuts that I had in the video. Our light fixture is now complete with plug, and all we have to do is plug it in.